Hello, and October has been good on us in terms of watchmaking news and activities, so get prepared for a rather rich edition of Primetime Watchmaking in the News, because seriously, it's been a while that we didn't have that many things to share with you, and I'll try to keep it as concise as possible. I'll do my best, so here's the summary. So we'll come back on some crazy auction results, yes, totally crazy. We have plenty of product launches to talk about. I guess brands want you to be psyched up ahead of the Christmas season, and I'm talking about a very generous Santa, since we'll be talking about Richard Mille, Greuvel Forcet, Hublot, Parmigiani Fleurier, IWC, Girard-Perregaux, Corum, among some other things. But we'll naturally come back on some important business news ranging from De Béthune, Vacheron Constantin, Panerai, Roger Dubuis, the current situation of the industry, so some nice and positive news, but unfortunately also some sad ones. And we'll also talk about the many events that will occur in November, because yep, that's also going to be a super busy month. Salon QP, Dubai Watch Week, important watch auctions, GPHG, Only Watch, well, I mean, you name it. But first, a quick word from the broadcaster. That's me. Because yes, I've been doing a bit of thinking regarding the way we finance our business, and as I do feel slightly frustrated of producing only one video report per week when we used to do two until this summer. Again, I definitely privilege quality versus quantity, but these two are not necessarily incompatible. You know that we have plenty of ideas regarding content, but naturally we need the resources to make it happen. And of course, I've been scratching my head over this over the last few months. For instance, I know that we have this Patreon thing going on, this kind of Kickstarter for content creators, but I have to confess that until now, we probably didn't use this very cleverly. So first of all, a massive thank you for all of those that are already supporting us on this platform, means the world to us. And you already know that I love to share with you guys on YouTube with the commenting section, but I'm convinced we can go much further and have Patreon as our special little community space with additional and exclusive content and experiences, more behind the scenes, polls asking what future contents you would like to see, special goodies and so forth. And at this stage, I'm of course really open to ideas, and I naturally really privilege Patreon as the space where we will be able to have this discussion. So I clearly invite you to join our Patreon community, link in the description box below, and your support will really be highly appreciated, whether $1 or $2 per month, everything helps, and we'll bid this from then on. Okay, but now let's get back to this prime time, and let's start with a little firework. And I guess many of you have already seen this with the incredible price reach for Paul Newman's Rolex Daytona Cosmograph at Phillips during the latest auction held in New York on the 26th, which was simply phenomenal. We're talking $17.7 million, including premium for a steel chrono, okay, a very iconic and unique one with an incredible story attached to it. We knew that there would be some kind of irrational dimension with this particular lot, but still, what an incredible performance for Orbach and his team. I guess this one will be pretty hard to beat, and it's a clear demonstration that Rolex has for sure taken over the place of the hottest commodity on the auction scene in 2017. So coming back on the auction itself, and this must have been quite something, as the opening bid was set at $1 million, and the first bidder immediately set the tone over the phone by placing the bar at $10 million. That left puzzled quite a lot of people attending the show, yes, I think we can use this term, and definitely dampened the ambition of a few, as from then on there was only a group of only 4 bidders that continued the battle between themselves, and ultimately it wasn't that first bidder that got the lot. He backed out around the 14 million mark. Yeah, that's the 10 million plus club of people capable of putting that amount of money on the table, quite something. And I guess those who thought they would be seen as hotshots by bidding 4, 5, 6 millions must have felt a little bit frustrated, almost small players. Can you imagine this? But during the same auction, there were some other very interesting lots, with a special mention for the Philippe Dufour Duality that fetched a very spectacular $900,000 when this very same watch was sold in 2007 for approximately $180,000. And this was seen at the time already a rather high price tag, so more or less 500% increase in 10 years, not too bad in terms of investments. And I guess that the very privileged owners of Philippe Dufour watches, and that's a very small club of people around the world, well, they must see this with a little smile on their face. But as a side note, please remember that Philippe Dufour, the formidable man that we had the chance of already hosting a few times on the Watches TV, well, he's not really benefiting from all this. I mean, on a personal level, apart from the satisfaction that his babies are so valued, but there's something which makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, I admit, something slightly indecent, despite the fact that I can only acknowledge and appreciate this notion of works of art when we're talking about his timepieces. Okay, my mind is a little bit confused, we'll get over it, maybe. But continuing with the auction world, November will be a pretty busy month with all the major houses hosting important watch auctions in Geneva. Again, some interesting lots puts on sale. And additional to this, the only watch auction will also be held on the 11th. This is a bi-yearly charity auction where brands support the event by producing a unique timepiece, generally coming from their current collections. So overall, this represents 50 different timepieces, so quite a lot, and the star of the show will most probably be the self-winding Patek reference 5208T-010, a triple complication with minute repeater, perpetual calendar, and mono-pusher chronograph functions, encased in a titanium case, something very rare for the brand. And please remember that during the last only watch auction, another Patek Philippe watch, the reference 5016A, shattered the record for a new timepiece at $7.2 million US. And by the way, this one came in steel. But another interesting aspect about this auction is that, strangely enough, it's also an opportunity to make some good deals, if one can say so, as historically not all these unique watches sold there reach their official public prices. In a certain way, it's a way to see who's hot or not, and the results are always quite interesting to follow, and some brands could be tempted to support their own timepieces to avoid this gap. Well, we'll soon find this out. And this enables me to talk about one of the very cool events of the year taking place in November. That's the Dubai Watch Week, where I will again participate. So if you're in the region, I clearly invite you to drop by, because this year's show will be bigger and larger than the two previous editions. This event will take place at the DIFC between the 16th and the 20th, and additional of many brands being on site, there will again be some very interesting side activities such as special exhibitions, masterclasses, where people can get some hands-on experience with some very experienced teacher, but also many interesting panel discussions that will take place during these 4 days. And that's where I make the link with what I previously talked about, since I will be moderating a panel precisely on the importance and role of auction houses, with a pretty nice group of panelists, and talking, for instance, if auction houses are active trendsetters when it comes to the appreciation of some brands and collection. I will also moderate another panel, and this time we will talk about the modification and personalization of timepieces. So what do people think about this from the customer's point of view to the brand themselves? But even before these panels will occur, please don't hesitate to share your own views and questions about this in the commenting section, either here on Patreon, you know what I mean, and count on me to bring all this on the table during both these panels. So really looking for this, but for the event in general too, because I must say that one of the greatest accomplishment of this Dubai Watch Week is really to be able to pull together so many actors of the watchmaking scene on some sort of neutral ground. I mean, this means that there is a lot of informal debating going on, a lot of experiences shared, and constructive discussions. So I've always come back from this event feeling quite re-energized, and also have to be fully honest and say that November in Geneva is not that sexy when it comes to the weather. So a bit of comfortable temperature will also do some good before facing the harsh winter month of Switzerland. But still talking about events, and if you're in London or in the region on the 3rd and 4th of November, well, there's another cool show taking place at the Saatchi Gallery in central London, and that's Salon QP. Again, quite a few brands present there, as well as some conferences and panels. I don't yet know if I'll be attending this year's edition. This will be a very last minute decision, just a bit too much going on at the same time for me. And just before finally talking about the latest product launches, I just wanted to apologize regarding the latest edition of Primetime, and in particular to our Mexican audience, because I did mention Watch Time New York. Yeah, that was a really, really cool event, had a great time. But I totally forgot to talk about the CR, which took place between the 17th and the 19th of October in Mexico City, and that's also a great event. I promise not to mention this to you next year, and to do so, well, I guess the best way is to go and attend this by myself. Should be a strong enough reminder. Okay, let's now talk about some watches, and there are a few, so hang in there with me, and we'll start with something slightly eccentric, and let's say that Richard Mille is really in a league of his own. The brand presented the RM70-01, the Alain Prost, and we know that the two men are close friends, and we also know that Alain Prost is a keen cyclist. So the result is a rather unusual asymmetrical shaped case, something kind of already seen with the RM61 Johan Blake, but taken even further, and this new timepiece holds a mechanical counter activated manually by the wearer. This lets you keep track of your bicycling training kilometers up to 99,999, and you do so by pushing yourself the button to increment this number. One pusher to select the unit and the other one to display the number. And by the way, if you prefer to keep track of the number of beers you drank or the number of poems you wrote to your girlfriend, it works too. Okay, I know there is a lot of technical development behind this, like everything Richemille does. Okay, it's a tourbillon, okay, there's a lot of carbon, titanium and so forth. But I must admit that I don't really know what to think about this special one. But at the same time, I just love the fact that they did it. It's limited to 30 timepieces. It cost $815,000 US. Yes, you heard me right. And by the end of the afternoon, this watch was launched. Well, all 30 pieces were already sold. Isn't that just crazy? We live in a crazy world. But I'm very happy for Richemille. And ultimately, when I see other brands thinking that they can also go down that route, well, I think it's important that they remember that this spot is already taken. There's only one Richemille, and that's it. Thank you. Okay, there's a few brands that are kind of getting away with it, and this leads me to talk about Hublot, since among their many ambassadors, you now have American golfer Dustin Johnson, and to mark this fresh collaboration, well, they've introduced a golf version of the Big Bang, and similar to Richemille's mechanical counter, this watch lets you record your golf score by pushing two buttons. With the pusher at 4 o'clock, you select the hole you're playing on, and with the pusher at 8 o'clock, you record the number of strokes you played on that hole. And the total amount of strokes is automatically calculated and displayed at 6 o'clock. Okay, this means that you better be a pretty decent golfer and never play above 99 shots per game. And once your round is finished, well, then you have another push at 8 o'clock to reset to 0 all these indications. This watch also uses a lot of carbon and titanium. It weighs a mere 98 grams and is priced at $31,500 US. And I think this price info just summarizes pretty well the league difference between Richemille and Hublot. Okay, next watch. But let's remain a bit up there among the stars if you want, as we will talk about the new Parmigiani Fleurier Bugatti Type 390. The brand enjoyed a long partnership since 2004 with the French Uber supercar manufacturer. And following last year's launch of the Chiron, well, this year Parmigiani are introducing the timepieces that goes with it. To summarize its main originality, let's say that this watch clearly separates the engine part, the movement, which is encased in the cylinder, to the time reading display, and the two are connected together using a special worm screw. I mean, since the movement is in a cylinder, they couldn't use classical gear trains, and instead developed patented planetary gear trains for the transmission of the energy all the way to the 60 seconds flying tourbillon. This timepiece is limited to 10 pieces, and I really hope I will be able to see it with my own eyes without having the trouble of ordering a Bugatti Chiron myself. And now for some rapid news, and okay, this is not really a novelty, but since I really like Gruber's Force perpetual calendar, and I just wanted to mention that they've introduced a slightly modified version of this timepiece with a rhodium colored gold dial, and to be precise, its name is QP à équation, since it holds a perpetual calendar coupled with an equation of time function. IWC are launching 3 new models in their Pilot Watch collection. You have the Big Pilot's Watch annual calendar Antoine de Saint-Exupéry edition. It's limited to 250 pieces. It comes in a 46.2 millimeter red gold case with brown dial with small seconds at 9 o'clock and 7-day power reserve indicator at 3 o'clock. Then you have the Big Pilot's Watch Heritage coming either in a titanium or bronze case with black dial, both. The bronze version is limited to 1,500 pieces. And finally, you have the Big Pilot Mark 18 Heritage, also in titanium, in a titanium case with a small date at 3 o'clock. Girard-Perregaux has introduced a full black ceramic version of its Laureato. This one comes in a 42mm wide case, and the bracelet and folding clasp are also in ceramic. Looks pretty cool, I think. So Corum have reintroduced something quite iconic for them with 3 new coin watches. These come with a 42-hour power reserve automatic movement encased in either a yellow gold or a silver 43mm case. And finally, in terms of product launches, let's very quickly talk about Romain Jérôme, who are pursuing their association with characters coming from our childhood and following Space Invaders, Super Mario and so forth. Well, now the brand has shifted their focus on the feminine segment with the introduction of the Hello Kitty collection with 3 different models. I mean, these watches all come in a steel 40mm case, but the finishing varies between a simple version to 2 other precious stones versions. And I had mentioned in the previous prime time that Vacheron Constantin was introducing new watches, and these are part of the historic collection of the brand, meaning re-editions of some of their historical models. So they came up with new versions of their 1940s inspired triple calendar watch, one coming in a steel case with a small second at 6 o'clock. That's the historic 1942 and priced at $19,500, and the historic 1948, more or less the same watch but in a rose gold case with a finer dial with a golden applique, but most importantly with a precise moon phase indicator instead of that small second. This last watch is priced at $35,000 and is limited at 200 pieces. But Vacheron didn't stop there, as they also introduced a new version of their American 1921 watch. That's what we call a driver's watch with a slightly shifted dial facing more the driver when you're driving. Hence the name. But what is interesting with this re-edition is that Vacheron seem also to be targeting this watch more towards a feminine market. It's smaller than the original 2008 re-edition, which used to be 40mm, and this model is now 36.5mm in rose gold case and is priced at $29,000. So I had mentioned that Vacheron was coming with more aggressively priced timepieces, but I guess there is still a bit of leeway here. So okay, let's talk about some business news, and it seems that the industry is gently recovering. We've seen some positive signs almost everywhere, and some efforts are definitely paying off. But again, let's remain quite cautious about all this, and especially I hope that brands and groups have learned from some past mistakes, meaning in particular that the power comes from the customers and not the other way around. An example of these positive signs is, for instance, Richemont, which announced that they were back on some pretty solid tracks in terms of their financial result, that is. And this is mainly explained by the fact that they finalized the buyback process of important stocks of unsold watches of their many brands around the world. And obviously, mechanically, their profitability just simply grew. Yes, overstocking the market was for sure not such a bright idea, and to be honest, it concerned practically every brand. I think it just reflected a very short-term approach of the business, with some managers wanting to pull some sexy numbers to their various boards. I really hope that a longer-term approach will guide the future of watchmaking. Actually, I'm trying to convince myself of this, but let's remain positive and optimistic. So let's continue with Richemont, who are part owner of the luxury e-commerce platform Mr. Porter. They have a 50% stake in it. And from now, you'll also be able to buy a pretty large selection of Panerai watches directly on this site. So this is just another sign of finally the acceptance that one can buy a luxury watch online, even though, and gladly, it doesn't mean the end of the normal physical retail business, but just a normal evolution following the evolution of consumer habits, and we'll definitely see more initiatives going in that direction in the near future. We've also learned that Vacheron Constantin have closed what used to be a digital pioneering project, as they were among the very first ones to develop their very own private forum dedicated to collectors of the brands. This was called the Hour Lounge, and the brand has now decided that it will only use the traditional social media to reach out to their customers and collectors. I mean, this is proving again, the overwhelming power these channels of social media have today. And on a sad note, I just wanted to mention that Mr. Roger Dubuis, founder of the eponymous brand and master watchmaker, has passed away at age 80. Prior of launching this brand, Mr. Dubuis had done most of his career at Patek Philippe, and I met the man on several occasions, and he was really a sweet and nice person on top of being an exceptional watchmaker. But one has to admit that his journey with his brand had been quite a complicated one, mainly on the business side of things. And when I say that it was complicated, I really mean this, as it went to the extent of him not being able to return to his own brand at one stage. Okay, can you believe me on this? Ultimately, the brand was bought by the Richemont Group, as there were two sides of the business. I mean, the brand on one and the manufacturing capabilities on the other. Well, anyhow, rest in peace, Mr. Dubuis, and it has been an honor to have known you. But now some other good news, and this concerns De Bethune, because this brand has gone through some very difficult times over the last few years, and we even thought at one point that the brand would simply disappear. But now things seem to have finally settled with a new ownership, and hopefully they will be able to rejuvenate the brand. It's a tough challenge ahead of them, despite the fact that their timepieces are just simply quite exceptional, and there's so much development and intelligence and beauty in them, so we'll soon see how they will adapt their strategy. And November is also the month of the GPHG. That's the most important watch award ceremony of the industry. It's held in Geneva on the 7th and celebrates the brands that enlisted their various watches in the different categories of the competition. The ultimate prize being the Aiguille d'Or, kind of the best of the best. We'll naturally cover the result and we'll get interviews of the various winners. And by the way, during the Dubai Watch Week, the winning watches of the different categories will be put on display, so yet another reason to drop by. And finally, and just as a little side story, in Switzerland we change our banknotes more or less every 15 years, and the new 10 Swiss franc note just came out the other day, and for the very first time, at least that I can recall, well, there's a clear reminder of the importance of the watchmaking industry on it. Okay, I guess it wasn't good enough to be featured on the 1000 Swiss franc note, but at the same time, this 10 franc note will definitely be seen by many more people than the 1000 Swiss franc version. So I hope it stays the same for watchmaking too. Okay, I will now stop here. I warned you that this would be quite a long edition, but that's how it is. Plenty of things to share with you. And actually, it could even be longer. I kid you not. So all the best to you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. If you see what I mean, Patreon. And see you real soon. All the best. Have a great day.